short whisper video about a few CDs that I have. And I am a big fan of music. I'm sure most people are. But I wanted to record a short video. But I want to say this is not my entire selection. Some of that is at other places right now. And I recently stopped collecting CDs. I moved on to streaming services. It was a little cheaper. Much cheaper. And so this is kind of a random assortment. But these are all albums I do like. And they're kind of an assortment of genres. So I'll start. The first one I have here is American Football. And I should note that this is the first American Football album because they actually have another one also called American Football and an EP also called American Football. And I really like this album. This is an emo album, but not in the way of Fall Out Boy or My Chemical Romance. Although if you're into those bands, you might like this, because in some ways this is sort of what inspired those bands. It's 1990s emo. And this album in particular has a lot of math rock and almost post-rock, and a lot of different genres go into this album. This is a re-release, actually, and it's really pretty. It has a couple of CDs, has some bonus tracks. They're an interesting band because not only are they just a really good band, they have a funny story because I think it was in college, when they were in college, or when they were young at least, they started recording together, and they broke up after a while, released like one album, and each one kind of played in different bands and other projects, but they got more popular. This album in particular got really popular, a lot over the internet and people discovering it, and so they played a few more shows, and eventually they got back together for real, and there's another album actually, and that's very exciting. They're a good band. It's very emotional. Well, it's emo, it's very emotional, but it is also just very moving, and it's a very autumnal album actually. I like to listen to it in the fall. I think that's when I got into it as well. There's a lot of good songs in here. Never Meant, the first song, is amazing. It's the best one, I think. And there's a really good video for it too. It makes me cry every time, actually. But this one is really good. The next one I have is... This is All Girl Summer Fun Band by... I think it's the self-titled, yeah. And this album... I like this band because there's a lot of bands that have an album, have a band name that has nothing to do with the band, and All Girls Summer Fun Band are exactly that. It's all girls, and they're very fun. And this is on K Records. You'll see there's the famous K Records shield, and yeah, actually, all four of the members of the band have actually gone on to do other things as well. I think this came out in the early 2000s or late 90s. 2001, yeah. And, Jen was in the Softies, I know, which is another band I really like. And this is a really fun album. There's a lot of just short, kind of quirky, fun songs, and it's just very fun. It's very upbeat, and it's very lo-fi. It's very indie and kind of a fun punk aesthetic if you're into that. But there's lot of good songs like Later Operator, Somehow Angels. That's like the one kind of sad song. Theme song. They have their own theme song, so you know they're a good band when they have their own theme song. The next CD I have is Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen, who, of course, if you don't know her too well, you probably know Call Me Maybe, which was kind of her big hit. And if you see people talk about her online, they always talk about how this album didn't really sell that well, but is really well regarded. And if you don't listen to pop, I would recommend listening to this album because, I mean, it's very much a pop album. It's very 80s pop, actually. But it's a good introduction to pop if you're not into it, because there's some pop that isn't well written, and, you know, some lazy songwriting, and this is not that at all. There's a lot of really good songs in this one, like Run Away With Me, I Really Like You, Give Me Love, like big singles, or relatively big singles. But actually, there's 15 songs on it, and the later songs are actually really good as well. Like, that's a lot of pop albums get worse as you listen on the album, but this one's really good. So yeah, and then she also had a little EP called Emotion Side B that came out a year later. So you can listen to her for a couple hours, which is really nice because she's still a very new young artist. Even though she's actually a little bit older. She's like 28 or something, which is old for a new pop star. Not really old in real life. But she's a little bit more mature than like a lot of the other current pop stars, which is really, really nice. So this next one I have is an album that's kind of important to me. It is Momentary Lapse of Happily by Adult Mom. And one of the things I like about this album is I have it signed. Steph Knipe, who is the singer-songwriter, the main singer-songwriter in the band, they signed my album. I've seen them a couple times, actually. And they're a smaller band, but they're getting bigger. They released a new album as well. But I think this one's a bit better. And this album is kind of about, I think of it as an album when you're like starting to get over, you know, a period of depression or something like that. So there's a lot of darkness in it, but it's uplifting, and it's definitely from someone who knows about hard times and knows how to work through them. So that's really nice. And there's kind of a lot of jams on it as well, in a very indie way. They're definitely an indie band. I think they're from Burgess, and yeah, they've, you know, I think they played my college, so that's a good band. The next one is kind of in the same vein, in a way. This is, this one's signed. I'm gonna cover up my name because I don't want to put that on the internet right now. But this is Okay by O. You might know them. They used to be called Eskimo, it's like spelled like the French, with a E-U-A-X, or E-A-U-X. But they changed their name recently, actually. And actually the lead singer, the main songwriter, is from, you know, the part of the world that's, you know, referred to with that term, which is kind of a derogatory term. So I think that she has the right to use it, but she decided to change the name anyways. And which is kind of funny because the band is just called O now, but I think that's kind of fun. And yeah, there's there's a number of good songs on here. Like Broken X is kind of a fun song, but there's a lot of kind of epic songs in an indie way. Like The Thunder Answered Back. And I've seen this band live so many times. And they're really good. And actually basically everyone in the band is part of another band as well. They were part of a group for a while called the Epoch, which is actually disbanded now. But Mitski's on this album too, actually. That's really cool. I didn't know that. She's kind of really popular now. I love Mitski. I don't have any of her physical CDs though. But I forgot that she was on this. But Felix, the drummer of the band, they are also in this band called Told Slant, which is really good. A really sad band, actually. Sad music, but in a good way. So that's a good one. Oh, this one, I'm also gonna cover up a name. But this is Next Thing by Frankie Cosmos. And Frankie Cosmos was probably my favorite band in college, and I still really like them. I used to be kind of obsessed with them. I've seen them a lot. And Gabby from O is on this record as well, although she's not currently part of the band. This is a pretty good album. It's not my favorite of Frankie Cosmos's. Frankie Cosmos is a really strange band. For a long time, it was just one woman named Greta Klein, and she released about 50 albums on Bandcamp, and some of them are very short, but they're all like real albums. But they're very lo-fi. They're very much just her and a guitar or a cheap keyboard. But she's such an amazing songwriter, and she has so many good little phrases that you wouldn't think of, and very clever. And this album has a lot of good songs on it, like Embody and If I Had a Dog. She actually sent us re-record songs that she recorded in her Bandcamp days. So it's kind of fun when she comes out with something new. You're like, oh, here's a new version of this song. Actually, this song called I'm 20, I've seen her live a lot, and that song, she played it live for years, but had never really recorded it, or not that I know of. So sometimes I would go and see her and think like, oh, I get to hear this song, and I never get to hear this song, except for like bootlegs and stuff. And there's a dance that goes along with the song, and I almost know it. After seeing them like 8 times or something, but I don't have it down yet. I've like met Greta Klein though, so I probably could just ask her. Maybe I could tweet her or something and see if there's instructions of how to do the dance, because it's just a little thing, but it's very fun. But she is very good. One of my favorite songwriters. This next album is very, very different. This is Dead as Dreams by Weakling, and they are a metal band, and like a black metal band. I'll admit that I'm not super well versed on metal, and sometimes, the divisions of where different genres are drawn can be confusing. But let's just say they're black metal, and I like this kind of a rare CD. Actually, I bought it on eBay, but it's hard to find, I think. But I like this album. There's only like 5 songs on it, which is not that weird for a metal band, but they're very long, and it's such an intense sonic sound, and it's kind of fun. They're not Taylor. I think they're Californian. They're American, at least. And I have one more metal album here, and this is Deafheaven, New Bermuda. Deafheaven got pretty famous from their album Sunbather, which some people didn't like that much. It was a little controversial. Maybe because it had a pink album cover and it contained a lot of other genres as well, like some shoegaze and some almost sort of maybe indie elements. It didn't sound like typical post-rock, definitely, but it didn't sound like typical metal. But I really liked it, and I saw them live, and it was very intense. It was a mosh pit, an intense mosh pit, and I like to go to concerts, but I don't normally go to, metal and punk concerts. I would like to go to more, but they're very intense. So I think I almost broke my glasses or something. I remember being, jostled around a lot, but it was a lot of fun. And I think this album is better than Sunbather, in just my opinion, but Baby Blue is a good song, or Luna. I usually listen to it all at once, so I don't. But I remember it being Baby Blue is the one with the guitar solo, I think, the big guitar solo. It's actually been a while since I listened to this album, but it's a good one. Oh, the next one I've been listening to a lot recently, because it's a very good summer album, and it is self-titled by Always. And Always are, I think that I'm pretty sure they're Canadian, and they're a new band, or relatively new. They're very fun. It's 5 people. Molly something is the lead singer. But they're very fun. They're very summery. They're very bright and indie rock. And they have a few of their music videos had very kind of vintagey looking cameras and stuff like that. And they were just on the beach with these old cameras, and it was very cute. They're a very cute band. And pretty soon, really soon actually, they're coming out with a new album, which I'm very excited about. I heard a few singles from it, and it sounded good, a little bit different, but in a good way, a little bit more like shoegaze or psychedelic, or they kind of had some like elements of that before. So it's not the weirdest, but I am excited. Next one we have is Pageant Material by Casey Musgraves. And I like this album. I go back and forth if it's better than Same Trailer, Different Park, which is her other album, or one of her other albums, because that one had a song called Merry-Go-Round, which I absolutely loved. It's one of my favorite songs of that year, 2013, I think. I think this was 2015. It's Shiny. I forgot about that. So you can see the title is Shiny. That's fun. But both of them are very good, and she's a country artist, and I don't listen to too much country, so she's kind of my gateway to that, in a way. But she's good. There's a lot of good songs in here, like Late to the Party is really cute, and Miserable is a good song, although it's very sad. And Time Story Cowgirl, that one's good, and it's a good listen. This one might be a better first album verse to listen to than The Same Trailer, Different Park. But check out the song Merry-Go-Round if you haven't heard it. It's really, really incredible. next one, and Casey, where I don't have their first album because I just heard them or someone burned a CD for me of them. So I bought the second album when it came out because I knew I really liked them. But with this one, I like the first album better, and it's Savages. This is Adore Life. Their other album, the first album, is better in my opinion. But Savages are a really fun band. They're really aggressive and they're really loud. They're kind of take things from like the post-punk era, so they're kind of almost retro. But I seen them live at a festival, and they wore all black, and I think they had all black hair too, or at least dark hair. And the lead singer, whose name is Jenny Beth, she was shouting and she was crowd surveying, and she was being a very good frontman and or front person, and she's just a great performer. But there's some good songs on this one too. I just honestly, I don't listen to their other album in full as much as I just listen to She Will and Husbands. Those are just such energetic tracks. They're really good pump up tracks if you're, looking for motivation to clean your room or something good to just put on. So I really like this album, but I really like the other one. The next one I have is probably one of the weirder ones on here. This is CO. I guess they're self-titled. I guess it doesn't say. It's been a while since I listened to this album, but I have listened to it a few months ago maybe. And it's another K Records. K Records is a really good indie label, kind of in the 90s more. But they're one of the first kind of indie labels, or one of the most influential at least. And it's funny because most bands on that label are, like All Girl Summer Fun Band. They're very like indie and whimsical and guitars and stuff. And this band's a little bit different because it's one person playing the bass and one person playing the drums, and it's still lo-fi, but it's kind of danceable, and they get into grooves and everything. So it's this sort of like indie lo-fi jam band with elements of like funk and stuff. So, and they're very silly. Like, they kind of have little jokes, and they're kind of corny, which I like. It's fun if you're like, just have a small party with a few people over or something like that. But it's still, you don't want anything too crazy, but you just want something fun. This is a good pick. I guess this is recommendations, or I'm not sure. This next one, this is not really a real album. This is a sampler I got for the Magnetic Fields 50-song memoir, which is their album that came out this year. Which, honestly, I haven't listened to it that much. Actually, this is still sealed because I got a few of them. And because I saw them live, and they gave out these, and I had a few of them, and felt this was kind of a collector's item almost. I don't think it's valuable, but it's kind of fun, and I am a fan, so I thought I would keep one in the wrapping. But the Magnetic Fields are a very weird band. They are fronted by Stephen Merritt, who is an extraordinary songwriter. He's been in a lot of bands. He's very strange. He usually writes from different perspectives. Like, none of his songs are like autobiographical. And he wrote this one album called 69 Love Songs, which is just that. It's just 69 love songs, and it's so long. It's three CDs long, and it's very silly. He goes into every single genre and everything, single situation you could think of. Oh, actually, this album is autobiographical. He turned 50, so he made a 50-song album. And I saw there was a couple, only not that many live performances, but a few. And I saw one of them, and it was a very good performance. It was actually 2 nights, because 50 songs is a lot. But I saw it with a friend, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, although actually, honestly, my favorite stuff of his, or of the band actually, is their early stuff. They have this album called Get Lost. They used to use a lot of synthesizers. They don't really anymore. And holiday 90s stuff, like early mid 90s. And they're very quirky, and they're silly. But he's just an amazing songwriter. He always does little rhymes you wouldn't think of, and very inspired by like Cole Porter and older songwriters. Irving Berlin, as Stephen Merritt has a dog named Irving, or maybe a dog named Berlin. I'm not sure, but one of those. Oh, this one is definitely the weirdest I have in here. This is Non Caro, who is a composer, like he's not a band, he's definitely a composer, and he's not alive anymore. But 20th century, and I really like him, because in college, I wrote a lot of pieces, kind of inspired by his music in a way, because, he's very strange, because he doesn't, I think he initially wrote for the piano, but he started writing things that were too hard for anyone to play. So he started writing for the player piano, which is a piano that plays itself. You put in like a roll of music. Like I think it was invented in very early 20th century, or maybe before that. And he just made these rolls that, he would do things like play things impossibly fast, or like every note on the keyboard played at once, and then not, and then every other note. He's a very strange composer. Like, if you don't listen to a lot of that kind of music, maybe you've heard like Philip Glass or people like that. It's more like that than, Beethoven or anything. But I like his music. It's very strange, but it's interesting. And I just have one more. And this last one is Deacon and Sarah. This is an album called Heartthrob. And I am a huge fan of Deacon and Sarah. I have listened to all their albums. And one thing I really like about Deacon and Sarah is they really have changed as a band over time. They've been playing for a long time. Like maybe 20 years or something. Probably around that long. But they kind of started, they kind of sounded like a Lilith Fair band at the beginning. Like a Alanis Morissette, in a way. Like, they had a lot of 90s influence. But then they became like an indie rock band. Like, they were produced by one of the guys in Death Cab for Cutie for a while. So, if you like Death Cab, you might like them, if you haven't heard them. But then they became pop. They went totally pop, which I think they did really, really well. This album and their most recent album called Love You to Death, it's just pure pop music. But they have been a band for a long time, and they're really mature songwriters, so it definitely wasn't, it's throwaway bubblegum pop. It was really good stuff. But oh yeah, also they are twins, and they also are both gay women, and they've done a lot really good people. And actually, if you ever have a chance to see them live, I really encourage it, because they talk a lot and they make jokes between songs. They have a lot of banter. And they kind of bicker with each other too. It's funny. And also, I know most Deacon and Sarah songs, like by heart, but they would play each song so differently, like with, a whole different arrangement, and they would begin a song that I had heard hundreds of times, and I wouldn't even know what song it was until they started singing. And they were amazing arrangements, and then make certain songs a lot faster or slower, and they're a really skilled band, and it's cool both of them write separately. So you'll hear a song and you might think like, oh, this is a Deacon song or this is a Sarah song, because they're actually quite different songwriters. Although I still can't tell their voices apart usually. I'm bad at that. But they have a lot of good albums. My favorite is an album called The Con, which is now celebrating a 10-year anniversary. But anyways, that is a small selection of some CDs I have. And thank you for joining me. And I hope you have a good night or feel more relaxed.